So let's start with the Chicago Bulls. I can run through their most notable moves here. Look, if I miss some, or if like between the two of us, I'm sure Grant and I will catch 95% of what happened. But if we miss something major, you could feel free to let us know. They drafted Dalen Terry at number 18. They picked up Tony Bradley picked up his player option. They signed Derek Jones Jr. to a 2-year, $6.6 million deal, player option on year 2. They signed Andre Drummond to the exact same contract with the player option on year 2. They re-signed Zach Levine to a 5-year, $215.2 million deal, player option on that final season in 26-27. They signed Justin Lewis to a 2-way contract, signed Javon Freeman Liberty to an Exhibit 10 deal, and they signed Goran Dragic to a 1-year vet minimum. Notable exits that were not mentioned in what'll be the notable move section above. I have Troy Brown Jr. went to the Lakers, and then Matt Thomas and Tristan Thompson both remain unsigned at the moment. It's probably also worth noting, because when we get to the Wizards, this is going to matter. The Bulls did not give Zach Levine a no trade clause. I don't think he was eligible to one, to be fair, but just a fun anecdote there. So what do you have for these guys?
Do you want to list all the other players who did not get no trade clauses on their deals?
Yeah, just the next hour, 90 minutes, hour and 60 minutes, hour and 30 minutes will be spent listing all the players in the league that don't have a no trade clause.
Yeah, so I just I had him at a flat B, and I feel like it was just, again, because the big piece of business was getting Levine back into the fold. They didn't have a lot of other options. Like, I'm not in love with Drummond or Derek Jones or anything like that. This team feels like a sneaky, we're going to get partway into the season and blow it up team, because this just is like DeMar DeRozan's not an MVP candidate anymore, shocker. And Vucevic was kind of the start of like what I think is a kind of a bad team building plan of action a couple of years ago with that trade from Orlando. I just, they got the big thing right. They didn't do any like horrible damage. They didn't have a ton of resources. So it's not like, they missed out on all these other opportunities. I don't feel great about that grade. I'd be more likely to lower it than raise it, especially if I don't know how fair this is, but if Levine's, knees continue to be issues, or if he has health problems going forward, like that's an issue. But like, just to stick with Levine, because that really is sort of the main piece of business. I think I've flipped farther on him from negative to positive over the last like 4 years than I can remember on almost any player. Cause I just didn't think, I thought when the Kings signed him to that offer sheet in restricted free agency years ago, it was a perfect King signing because it was so stupid and just misguided, and this guy won't help you win. And then Levine is like one of a handful of guys that can be your number one option and also scale to being a great number 2, because he's fine on the ball and off it. And he's just improved, incrementally every year. So I think that's the right number for him. I think he is that, reasonable minds could disagree, but I think he is worth that money. So I guess that's really like 90% of my grade. I think they just kept their best player. They did what it took to do that. And, I'm ready. I'm totally receptive to the other stuff on the margins, knocking that grade down.
So I gave him a B- largely for the same reason. And just like, I think it's also a win for them that Levine didn't go, I know he has health concerns in the past, but didn't go the shorter term route, trying to get into free agency at the peak of the cap smoothing, whether that's 2026 or 2025. And this deal takes him through, if he picks up his player option, his age 31 season. If he doesn't, it only takes him through his age 30 season. So that's arguably even more just of a no risk or low risk proposition, we should say. So they hit their big move. I also I think you can say, okay, well, why didn't they use their mid-level exception? Why do they still continue to act like a smaller market team? And I think that's a fair criticism. I just want to know, who did you want them to spend? And I'm not saying this was your criticism. I'm not, Grant, tell me who you wanted them to sign with the mid-level. But like, Otto Porter, but he wanted to go to Toronto,
right?
Because his girlfriend's from Toronto. PJ Tucker really wanted to go to Philly. And it's like, well, could they have gotten Kyle Anderson? Could they have gotten Isaiah Hartenstein instead of Drummond? But do you want to spend the entire MLE on a backup big? Maybe you do, just because Vooch is entering the final year of his contract. So I'm be willing to listen to people quibble about that. But I just don't think that there were any opportunities missed here. The path not taken would be, well, could they have been more aggressive in any trade proposals? And the answer is right now, to me, is no, because like they don't have the asset equity to go after Donovan Mitchell, to go after Kevin Durant. And so, like, yes, they have Patrick Williams there, but okay, like they can't trade a pick until 27 at this point. So I'm fine with what they did. I would have liked to have seen. I want to be more confident in their front court rotation, and so I kind of feel like they missed there. I think that, by the way, I think the Goran Dragic signing was probably a home run. Like this is not. This is someone who can kind of still play and put the ball on the floor. And I'm just surprised that it took more to get Andre Drummond or even Derek Jones Jr. than I know Dragic is older, but I would have liked to have seen them gone a route where either if it instead of Derek Jones Jr. or Andre Drummond, could they have found someone who would have spaced the floor in the front court or a better rim protector than Andre Drummond, who's not like this true blue rim protector. I think people just, and it's fine. He's your backup five. I get it. But like, could you have got, like, I would have preferred probably Hassan Whiteside to Andre Drummond here. Like, that's where I'm not Dwight Howard maybe. And I know Drummond was like, before he went to Brooklyn, was a big part of the Sixers' success and deepening that rotation. I'm still just very uninspired about the frontline rotation. And a lot of that comes down to, well, what is Patrick Williams? We still need to know what he is. Is he your 3? Is he your 4? And I still remain very high on him. I was in big support when they took him at number 4. So I'm not even impugning them for that, but there are still too many questions up front after the season that Vooch had. And if you look at some of the bigs that were available, and like Hartenstein's the one that springs out to me the most. I didn't want them to sign Marvin Bagley, for instance. But like, could they have done something? Like even Mo Bamba would have made more sense here. And maybe he got too much money from the Magic over 2 years, but could you have scaled that to 3? It wasn't an uninspiring offseason, but it was unspectacular. I think a B- relative to what was working, what they had working for them is like that. If you could have won as high as a B+ though, and I might have understood it, because I think that the Zach Levine contract is a pretty massive win for the organization.
Right. Because, just to put a put a bow on the Levine thing, like, over the past couple of years, there were definitely periods where it was like, oh, it seemed like there was a chance that he might leave. And now the cap space situation of this past offseason made that seem less and less likely as it sort of crystallized. But like, we got to work big to small, I think. And so it was not a foregone conclusion, probably right up towards the end of last season, that Levine would be back. Like there was a legitimate chance that maybe he was, there was, it's all the agent speak stuff, but like he was going to test the market and he was looking forward to being an unrestricted free agent, all that stuff. So they got him back, and that just kind of controls it for me. So I think actually we kind of view that the same way. It just, we ended up closer than I thought we would actually.
Yeah. I mean, I was prepared to be harder on them, but when I was going through their actual offseason and everything else that happened around the league, I don't know how much you like the stuff that you're going to take issue with is stuff in the more distant past, like the DeRozan trade, the Vooch trade, and the stuff that set them up here. Also, we might be feeling completely differently about this team if Caruso and Lonzo Ball never get injured.
100%. Then to your point, that's why Dragic matters, because like all the reports about Lonzo Ball continue to be pretty iffy.
That's probably putting it kindly too.
Yeah. So, I mean, their season completely changed when those two guys were hurt. So, and Dragic will not do what those guys did defensively. But yeah, that position of need addressed, I would say, even if maybe his age makes him, as unreliable potentially as Ball's going to be. We'll see.
Anything else on them?
That's all I got.